All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk. Is it March yet? No, it's the last day of February,
Yeah.
2022.
Wow.
And I have a new friend joining me today. Urja. How do you pronounce
You've
that?
got an idea.
Urja.
Yeah.
Urja. Cool. And you're in New York?
Yes, I am right now.
Cool. Is it snowing out there?
No, but it's a rather cold day. It's been an interesting spurt of few warm days with rain and then back to getting chilled. So I call it the PMS weather. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having some unseasonably warm here. So it's going to be in the 70s today. I'm so excited. But very cold at night. Oh, Julie's watching. Julie Rose Clark. Hi, Julie. So you were saying before we got on that you've been reading a book, Blessed Possibilities, and I love that book.
Yeah, surely it has so
So
many.
go for it.
Yeah, so I've been recently reading a lot of Access published books, and my choice for the week was Blessed Possibilities. And this randomly, this chapter showed up in my world about generosity of spirit, and it's been a space where I've been exploring, but always denied that. I always thought I never had generosity of spirit, and which was very interesting to see it in a whole different way when Gary mentioned it. And the story in the book was about how a little bird was feeling cold on a bark, and how you can be the generosity of spirit with just asking from the earth, the sun, like to have a simple conversation with the bird, saying that, oh, well, what if the sun shone upon you and allowed it to be more warmer? And then, like, just connecting with that made me realize that it had the same energy that would be to kind of have that kindness for another being. And that does not mean you have to have money for the generosity of spirit. And that was so huge for me in a whole different way. Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
glimpsed upon that?
Yes, absolutely. I know so many people think of generosity of spirit as giving money or donations of some sort. Um, and it's really everything always comes down to the energy that you're being while you're doing. So it really doesn't have anything to do with what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's the energy you're being. So, somebody can be cooking a meal and being angry. Oh, remember that movie? What was it? Like Water for Chocolate?
I haven't.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you. There's this woman and she would cook, and when she was upset and crying into her cooking, everybody would eat it and be sick. But then if she was like totally in love and pouring that into her cooking, everybody was like sparked with being in love and grateful for things. So it's the energy that you're being while you're doing that creates these ripple effects in the world.
Yeah, and that's with just, if being silent or being just that energy that amplifies things. It doesn't have to be the action of doing always. It's always just what you're being in that present moment. And that's such an acknowledgement of your body, of your being, of your presence, just being willing to really contribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was that? I was going to say something else. Oh, you know how you were saying that you didn't think you necessarily had generosity of spirit, and it's like so many people are like that. If they think, well, I'm generosity of spirit, then they're usually not. And all the people who think, I don't know, I don't think I am. Am I? Those are the people who are. And Yeah, I'm remembering a time when I was facilitated by Dane in one of the advanced classes. And I was like, wow, I didn't think I was kind. And he was like, yeah, all the people who don't think they are something are that.
But I think in that moment, we kind of have our own definitions of that title, like being kind. Like, what is it to you? You know, that we
Mhm.
kind of filter it out through our being when our being really truly knows that. It's interesting.
Yeah, sometimes being kind is yelling at somebody so they don't get hurt or so they wake up. Yeah. So what else is going on in your world?
I've just been creating in a whole different way now. Kind of my willingness to show up with reality and like really put myself out there. So I've been creating in spurts, like I have a few days of like, yeah, let's do this. How can we create more? And then I have spurts of like, oh, I just want to stay in bed. But it's been interesting using some of my recordings of classes and rewatching them and exploring what I'd like to create in the world. So that's what I've been kind of working on. Yeah, just taking one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's um I'm often catching myself in those spurts and going, okay, how fun is this that I can just, chill out, do some knitting or something in the middle of the day. Like instead of judging it that you should be doing something else or you're not being consistent. It's so different now. There's been such a shift over the last few years in like the awareness of when judgment comes up as something that is a habitual response to just go, no, no thanks, not
Mhm.
choosing that. What
And
else is possible?
how is it for you when you create in sports with your? I know you have a jewelry business, which I've always glimpsed so many eyes upon. How does it show up in your work?
Yes, absolutely. It's in spurts. Like I'll start to make one thing and then I'll make 25 different things and then I'll not make anything for a couple of days. And it's interesting. I also paint and I have created a space for painting, which I haven't had for a long time, a dedicated space. I'd have like pull everything out and put everything away. And I walk by it several times a day and I don't necessarily feel the inspiration to do anything until I do. And just observing that and not making it right or wrong, how often I play in there.
Yeah. There are so many people I know that work according to a system, like they enjoy having to-do list and kind of having a routine. And then I realize that I stumble upon it some days when I'm like, maybe that system works for me. Sometimes that to-do list does work for me. And sometimes I'm like just scrapping the whole to-do list out and being like, what can I do today that would change something completely,
Mhm.
show up totally different. And that's the days when I get more things done than my to-do list can possibly have.
It's so true. There's also like for years I had a schedule and it was jam packed from as soon as I woke up until, late at night. And then if I had a day where I didn't have anything, it was almost like shock, like, what am I going to do? You know? And it's totally changed to most of my days. There's so much space. I'm like, you know, there's more play, there's more magic possible. Um, and I can still get a lot done and still have a bunch of things, but there's that to-do list, the schedule, it's so much more malleable and flexible than ever. I wonder what it's creating. I wonder what's showing up in the future as a result.
Yeah, it's interesting. I play with this tool of the energy pulse with the to-do list, which is interesting. I kind of ask what would next week, just like a mini future create for me. So I'll be like, what do I require to kind of actualize and take action upon that it requires my energy to in the next week, and then kind of pull the people I'll be interacting with, and that would contribute more to my business, to my space, to my relationships, and just to more joy for my body as well. And then I allow the to-do list to create itself. That's when I just don't do it according to time, which has been interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
that's how I actually started dance classes recently. And my body's like, that's in because I haven't danced in so many years. So what have you been doing for your body recently?
I've been hiking in nature.
The weather was nice.
And, and it's been kind of fun because when it's cold, like really cold, I don't really enjoy going out in the morning doing that. I've been playing with different YouTube short workouts, whether there's some dance workouts that are kind of fun, and there's yoga things and targeted muscle group workouts. And I just switch it up a lot. And they have everything from 10 minutes to 20 minutes to an hour, like depending on what kind of time you want to devote to it. And it's funny, my sister and I have been playing with some of the targeted workout things over the last several months. And, even 15 minutes every day changes so much in our bodies. We don't have to do this big, heavy, go to the gym and work out for hours to craft your body. Because you can just ask it, okay, body, how would you like to move today? And if it wants to do yoga, I don't know, somehow the stomach is flat and everything's good.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And don't you get bored doing the same thing?
Yeah, much faster than I thought I would. That's why being in question with it is an exploration by itself. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's fun.
So are you a facilitator of some?
Uh, yeah, just of access consciousness. I haven't got any specialty classes yet, but it's my first year as a facilitator. So I've been,
Certified facilitator? Awesome. Congratulations.
thank you. So it's been interesting to explore and actually embody the tools to facilitate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a foundation coming up this weekend.
Wow.
And, several days out, you start to feel the energy of the class. And some people choose to join, some people choose to drop out based on that. It's very interesting. Have you facilitated a foundation yet?
I am having one soon by the end of March
Mm-hmm.
after Global Foundation. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
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 My first foundation myself changed so much for me. And now being able to facilitate it has this energy of so much that you're stepping into. And yeah, you perceive so much change in people's whoever would be choosing it, and even people that just know about it. It's just creating such ripples.
Yeah. Sometimes I find it hard to remember what life was like before I had the tools because it's been so long. But each time I get to facilitate these tools, these classes, it's like how much people's worlds change and they let go of all of this self-inflicted limitation and hardship and, self-criticism and stuff, like things that they don't even know that they have. And they come out like so much more expanded and possible. It's awesome. I love it.
I was having an interesting conversation at a bar recently, and he was like, the person was like, what is this foundation that you've done? And what is access consciousness? And I was just being so present with it in a different way this time. And, when you talk access to someone who has not done access at all, it's so hard for them to perceive the energy when they don't know even energy is a reality. Right.
Right.
So it's interesting how they kind of conclude it and define it and be like, that's a belief system. And I'm like, I wonder what your awareness has instead of belief, and like that was so out of reach for her, for that person. It was like interesting. Like he felt more empowered, and just being in these classes, there's such an energy of empowerment and kind of being the source of your life and creation of your life. It's every foundation and every class you take, it's just magnifying that. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny. I was telling somebody about it and they're like, I'm empowered enough. I'm like, okay, have fun with that. Awesome. Yeah. The people who stand on the edge and look in and they're like, that looks pretty, but no thanks. And then there's the people who want to go on the adventure. Like, wow, what else is there? Because this is not enough for me.
Yeah, the willingness to just seek out more change requires so much vulnerability with the kindness that they have for the world.
And courage.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was that courageous. But apparently we are, if we're choosing this. And I'm so grateful that I found it so long ago when it was even weirder.
That's true. I have heard so many stories amongst these classes. I'm like,
I've had a lot of courage to find this when it was really weird. I got to listen to Gary Channel and have that whole experience. That was awesome.
Yeah, you've been here for a long time. Do you know, I remember any the weirdest story or the funniest story you've experienced over the years that you can always recall and be like, that's what happened. That's changed a lot.
The weirdest story? Nothing really comes to mind about that. Although back in the day, like when I took my first foundation, the facilitator played some recording of something. It was maybe even an ESC, but it was before ESCs were, I don't know, they played some recording from something. And on the recording, it was like really peaceful and, you're relaxing. And then all of a sudden somebody started screaming bloody murder. And we were like, what the hell is this? And there were certain people who pretended they got the energy, and they'd have these fake expressions of, whatever. And they're going, what is this? It was so weird. But then I met Gary and Dane at an intro soon after, and I was like, oh, this is what access really is. Because sometimes the facilitators don't really embody the energy of what access consciousness is. And the tools are still so amazing and life-changing and magnetic that you can find it through people who aren't necessarily being the energy. So I was grateful for that person and for being able to find my way. And I realized soon after that I needed to become a facilitator because I didn't necessarily want to send my friends.
Oh, interesting. So, which year, when did you become a certified facilitator?
Like 18 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that for your just as your business, as a life, and what kind of classes really contributed when you first?
Oh, well, I always had it on the side, and I have my art business, jewelry business going. But I worked wholesale, so I sold to other businesses, so I didn't work weekends. And for a long time, we changed it to 4 days a week. So I would schedule foundation classes on the weekend. I'd have like 2 classes a month, foundation and a level 1. At that point, they had them split. And there was no bars class
Mm.
until I asked Gary if I could facilitate a bars class because people weren't getting it in the foundation. It was a lot to learn in those 2 days. And so then it was created as a separate thing. But it was so different back then. I could just post a class and I'd have 6 people show up, and it was just a fun thing to do on a weekend. Whereas now, and the website is totally different now too. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it was very different. And everybody knew everybody in Access. It was much smaller. It was almost like family business.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I remember Shannon mentioning this in a recent call. She's like, I remember when I knew everyone in Access, and now it's like reach corners where you wouldn't really picture it ever
Yeah.
been. So what else is
178 countries or something like that. Like, wow. To be able to witness that expansion and growth, like, that you're on something if it goes like that.
yeah,
Through word of mouth,
exactly.
not advertising and clickbait and all of those kinds of things. This is actual organic growth.
Mm, it's been interesting. Wow.
Yeah, and talk about generosity of spirit. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, is an incredible example of that generosity of spirit.
So much. He has this way of kindness with such potency of how he is, how he talks. He just knows the energy of things, and um yeah. I have a glimpse of a story where I was being pathetic, and he's like, "You're being pathetic."
Yeah.
And I'm like, at for a second I was like, gonna go to reaction. And that's when I acknowledged the kindness he said it with was just for me to have the willingness to change it and acknowledge and step up for being not being that and not functioning from the finiteness. And I was like, okay. I just received it. So that's such a way with him and generosity of spirit where he doesn't limit anybody from where they come from, who they be, and no judgment in his word, which is just inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how he can say, you're being pathetic and not make you wrong for it so that you can choose different. It's very different than somebody saying you're being pathetic and like shoving that energy into your world so that you can't change it, which is how most people function.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Such a difference. Yeah.
So how did these coffee talks come up to be? I just kind of stepped onto it.
Oh, well, when everything went on lockdown, um, I had my kids home and each of us took a different area of the house. And I was like, I want to talk to somebody. So I just posted on Facebook, like, anybody want to grab a coffee and chat? And so a bunch of us got together. Sorry, oops. A bunch of us got together and I was saying, like, wow, when we get together and talk, it's just such expansive energy. We should do this, on Facebook, and so that people can listen in and join in and contribute, because I love hearing conversations where people get together and more possibilities show up as a result. So
That's actually
that's what we did.
fun and beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I just happened to be on it. I was like, what would it be like to just show up and like have conversation? I've seen you in so many classes and met you and seen your creations, so it was really fun.
Yeah, it's cool. And you know, in a lot of the classes nowadays, there's so many people, you don't get to meet everybody. So it's really fun for me to have anybody, join and select a date and we get to chat and other people can ask questions. Doesn't look like today there's any questions. There's a few hellos. Hi, Chris. But sometimes it's a lot of interaction and it can create other waves of possibilities in the world. And I'm always looking for different ways to contribute because that's fun for me. So cool. Oh, what is your mug? Let me see.
A little panda.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Yeah, I love it.
We had cute little mugs for my kids when they were young. Kitty cat and a puppy. And
Yeah, it puts a smile to your face.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, cool. It was fun chatting with you. And are you going to Global Foundation?
Not in person, but I'm hosting a pop here in New York City. So if anyone would like to join the party and swap some yummy body processes, it'd be nice. Yeah, I'm just creating a foundation end of March. If anyone would like to hop on online. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to Mexico
Ooh, nice.
with the warmth and just to meet
Join-
new people. I love meeting new people and contributing in that way.
yeah.
So,
Joining the fiesta.
and I do have to say, for anybody who's thinking of going to their first foundation as the Global Foundation, it's really overwhelming. And that's why this year I've created a foundation before that one. And when you repeat, it's half price. So it's really worth getting a deep dive into the tools before you go with thousands of people and all of their questions and you feel lost. At least you'll have some basis of what people are talking about. So
That's a fun way of looking at it. Yeah, what would it take to actually invite more people to that?
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, have a great rest of your day. And thanks everybody who's watching. If
Really.
anybody wants to be a guest, reach out to me, send me a message, and we'll schedule it up.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.